welcome to Local Matters. Today we're going to talk about a very local matter that affects all of us one way or another, now and for a long time in the future. We're going to talk about our schools and the coming up school bond. And to help me present that today, I have with me three very qualified people. One of them is McMinnville High School teacher Robin Pederson, the music director and performing arts career pathway leader. And we'll learn more about what career pathways are. If you don't know, there's quite a lot of them. So there'll be a test. And also I have with me Maryalice Russell, Superintendent of Schools here in McMinnville. Nice of you to join me again.
Happy to be here, thank you.
Maryalice.
Thanks.
And today a student from McMinnville High School, Hayley Sparrow, and you are an experienced student in that you are a
Senior.
A senior. Okay, you've been there. You know the territory.
Yes, I do.
You know what goes on. You've come to tell us the real story. All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, let's go back a few years to perhaps when that area there. How many acres is the high school on?
It's about 33 acres, and that's if you look at where the main campus facility is, plus Baker Field, in addition to where the district office sits, so combined. And that's a little substandard for what most high schools sit on, but long ago, that site was selected as a middle school. It was originally Patton, and now it's turned into a high school site. But we're filled, and we need to improve our facilities to accommodate the needs of our kids.
So, just back up just a bit there. You said that it was originally designed as a middle school.
It was.
And it's been morphed into a high school.
There were a number of remodels over the years, and prior boards and prior superintendents made the decision to transition that school from a middle school to a high school. And since that time, we've been making sure that we put in the appropriate accommodations and repairs, that it provide an adequate setting for our 9th through 12th grade students. It's been a long-term process, taking a look at the necessary remodels to keep it as a viable facility for high school programs. We did a great job in 2006, adding that 26 classroom wing in the first phase of what's meant to be a 3-phase improvement of the campus. And with this bond proposal, it'll take us through that second phase, and we think it'll enhance the opportunities for students in terms of a physical plant that meets the needs of current day instruction.
Well, let's back up to when the last bond measure was. What year was that? 2006. So 2006, and it took a year or so to build it. And so it's all done, and okay, this is good. We got what we wanted, we're happy. Now at some point, things change. And you say, well, now it's time for something new. When did that, and when you came here, when, Mary?
I came in 2002.
2002, so you've seen this process. So at some point, 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, boy, it's been a lot of years, you thought, we are starting to generate a list of needs. When do you have something that kind of first poked up its head, or maybe at the end of 2006, after that remodel, you still had a plan of how to go forward with some of each?
Remember, in 2006, we actually came to the community with a 3-phase plan then. So back prior to that bond being approved, our architects designed what a full build-out of the existing campus would look like to accommodate the needs for a comprehensive high school moving into the future. And in 2006, we said to the community, we won't come back to you for at least another 10 years. And now it's 2016, and we're coming back 10 years later. So that's actually been part of a proactive plan that we have had in place. We're really fortunate that we have had a strong investment by community members participating in long-range facility task force. There was a task force prior to 2006 bond. They were part of helping us design that 3-phase plan for the high school build-out. And then we had another long-range task force that's been in place for more than 30 months now, looking at what this next remodel phase should look like based upon the original plan design and any enhancements needed going forward. Also, I'll just add that we do a facilities planning and assessment on an every 5 to 10 year basis in the school district. So not only are we looking at the needs specific to the high school, which is the largest portion of this particular bond proposal, but we're looking at the needs across the district at all of our K-12 buildings, and have proposals within this bond that also provide improvements in each of the other schools. And those are in categories that we're referring to as things like energy and efficiency, safety improvements, repairs, long-range efforts to complete that phase 2 build-out of the new high school.
So, wow, that's a lot of territory. So I characterized this incorrectly. It wasn't, at the end of 2006, you thought, well, we're done for a while now. No, it was 2006, this is where we need to be for now, what we can afford to do for now.
That's correct.
And then in 10 years, we have this other phase. And how that phase was planned, and I will talk maybe a little bit later about how it changed from the plan, that master plan, to what we're going after now. But I'd like to just give, Robin, talk to you about, let's just step out of this progression of remodeling to how times have changed somewhat at the high school. And maybe because of this thing called career pathways, this design has changed. So tell us about what career pathways is and how that's impacting the school.
McMinnville High School has obviously has had a long-range plan for what needed to happen, but also has been very aware of what's happening in the United States and in the world in terms of needing to move on in terms of technology and training, and has developed a beautiful system called the Career Pathways, where we have 18 choices for kids to get specialized training in everything from culinary to health services to music to 18 different choices for them. It's very, very specialized, and so it did start to morph a little bit, the remodel, when we realized fabrication, just all the various really amazing skills that we can send the students out the door with these world-class, ready-to-go in the workforce skills. And so we need to upgrade not just what we knew would happen in technology over the 10-year course of change, but really paying attention to what the students need and preparing them for their futures.
In the past, there has been drafting, and there's been auto shop, and there's been wood shop. And I ran into a gentleman the other day, and he said, when they took out those drafting tables and that auto shop, I voted no on school bonds ever since. And I said, well, this is your time, to him, because it's coming back in a big way, expanded, improved beyond my wood shop. Mm-hmm. So I think we are kind of coming circle back to, wait a minute, we do need to have these ways that people can contribute right out of high school if they choose to.
Very, very solid skills in drafting, and then also incorporating the technology of 2016 and beyond for drafting and graphic arts and all of the things that are out there for kids in this time, but also understanding just flat out drafting and the drawing of their projects in the construction field. So it certainly is. We are certainly full circle, if you will, in terms of getting kids prepared, hands-on, ready for the world and for the workforce.
Now, you hesitated to do the whole list of all 18, but it's so impressive. Let me just add a few more to the list. I won't do it exhaustively, but construction, engineering, manufacturing, and health services. Let's go to you, Hayley, and ask about what is health services? How have you experienced it? What have you learned? Why is it fun? Sell us on health services at the high school.
All right. So it is focusing on preparing students who want to go into the medical field. So anything from nursing to being a physician to maybe working in the labs. And there's classes at the high school, as well as the last class you take in the pathway is actually an internship. And you get to partner with different businesses in town, at the hospital, just different private practices, and you really get to experience what it would be like to work in that field.
So what does that internship look like? Do you take time on the weekends or after school or during school and you go over? How does it work?
It kind of depends on where you're placed. You get 4 rotations. Some of them are out at the hospital and some of them are at just different businesses, physical therapy or chiropractic offices. And so they all have different schedules, so you kind of have to work on communication skills, which is good to learn, and communicate with all of the people working there to fit it into your schedule and your school schedule. Occasionally you do have to miss school, so you have to make sure that you're staying on top of that and communicating with your teachers and making sure that you're staying caught up in all that before you go to the other businesses.
Have you done an internship?
Yes, I did that last semester. I was out at the hospital for 2 rotations and then just at different businesses in town.
Businesses in town that were related to health,
yes.
To medical?
Yes, so just like West Hills Healthcare Clinic or chiropractic offices, stuff like that.
All right. And at the hospital, you said you got to analyze some blood?
I didn't specifically,
Uh-huh.
but one of the rotations you can do is in lab services, and I know that they got the chance to do that, which is pretty cool.
All right. Tell me about your friends that are in other pathways that tell you fun stuff about, or interesting or intriguing or intense stuff that they do.
So we have so many different pathways. One of them is the marketing pathway, and they run like our action corner at school, and they get to really learn the skills needed to run a business and all of the financial stuff for that. There's the I think it's, I don't know the correct title, but if you're interested in going into the law, they have criminal justice. That's the pathway. And I've heard that's a really interesting one. The fire and emergency services. It's just, I mean, people can find anything that they're interested in. There's something for you, whether it's art or science or anything. The pathways really help prepare you for anything that you think you might want to go into in the future. And what's nice is you don't have to just pick one. You can dip into this and kind of see which one is for you. And you can be a dual pathway student and finish 2 of them if you want. And so that's really cool.
We've have a really neat system of introducing the freshman class through our seminar, freshman seminar class. They get to have a taste of every single pathway in the building before the end of the year, before they move on to their sophomore year. And so they get to be in the art room, or they get to, so every pathway leader comes and talks to them about what their pathway has to offer. So even before they step into that first pathway taste, they have already rubbed elbows with the teachers and the students and seen kind of what those pathways, and that's a really special way to introduce the freshman class to the different pathways.
So if you think about a sort of a preparatory transition or effort, you want the students to have certain kinds of skill sets before they move into things such as internships, which is why those are held towards that latter part of their career experience. But your audience is probably wondering, well, what do those pathway experiences, though, have to do with the facility? Because if you're doing some of that already, how will new or improved facilities make a difference? So, Hayley, I'll put you on the spot. So think about the Health Ox Lab. Tell me sort of what it's like today and what you perceive the facilities might do to improve experiences for kids at the campus.
All right. So right now, for example, in our sports medicine class, they practice taping injuries. Well, in order to tape injuries, you have to have a platform for students to sit on so that you can access their ankle or their arm. And right now our classrooms aren't big enough for that, and so they have to do the taping out in the commons, which really isn't ideal for the instructor. There's a lot of distractions. It's not really a classroom setting, it's the commons. And so one of the things is the new design has a health services lab, which would provide more space for that. We use I don't know if they're called mannequins, but to practice CPR on, and there's not enough room for that in the classrooms. We need more storage for that, and so the lab would really give students the hands-on experience they need in the classroom at the school.
Well, I think this might be a good time to cut to that map that we brought and look at what difference this career technical education career pathways innovation has brought to the footprint. So if we could get that on the screen. And
So
Robin?
what you're looking at, if you go in on that map just a little bit,
Yeah, Richard, would you zoom in on the map?
all of the colorful parts of the map are the parts of the building that will be remodeled in this with this bond issue. So you have new classrooms, you have new technical space, the construction lab, just all the kind of what Hayley was talking about. The teachers are teaching these classes, but they're really limited by the space that they have. And this bond would help to rebuild the spaces so the pathways could actually be truly functioning and giving the students even more hands-on in the building.
That green long rectangle up in the upper right, that is what?
There's going to be construction classes, there's an engineering lab there, some manufacturing, and I believe art. I think the digital art might be out there. Those are some real hands-on labs that need specialized space.
So, for example, in our construction lab presently, students are able to make small things that can be carried home. So like bird feeders and things of that nature. But what you really want for students is to have that larger construction experience. And so these new facilities, we're looking at them having these large garage door entries and exits so that equipment can be wheeled in, framings of walls can be wheeled out, depending upon what the project is, so that students can take on much larger, realistic efforts in that construction. So it's a matter of tailoring these facilities to better match the experiences we want students to have as they're creating their building blocks to move on to those post-secondary experiences.
So that building I was just pointing out, that probably wasn't in the 2006 master plan.
It was not. The interior buildings, the blue area, rooms 8, 7, 7, and 10, those were intended to be larger rooms with those garage door type entries. But in addition to that, the reason that 21, 22, or those that are seen in green to the right of the screen were added was so that we can also create a standalone HVAC system that helps provide the ventilation to those classrooms in a manner that is robust and keeps that environment safe for the students as they're working on these larger projects.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot to it. Not just building the walls, but the technology that has to back it up.
That's right.
I'm curious about, you went with a task force out to the community and got some feedback and had what was the team called that did the analysis on developing this new plan?
Well, it was a long-range facility task force.
Long-range facility, yeah.
Right.
How did they go out? Did they go out with a blank slate? No, they had a plan. And I'm just curious how it got modified by feedback from the community.
Well, we did, it's been a very long process.
Yeah,
and,
how'd that go?
As I mentioned, I think it lasted about, when we originally talked to these individuals, we asked them if they would join us for about 3 meetings over a 3-month period of time, and they're still meeting today, communicating with others, sharing with people what they believe the best plans are. And last year, around this time, we also conducted a large town hall, and we invited the community to come in to comment on preliminary plans. We did a first round of service club meetings telling people that here's where the committee's at. And at that time, the committee was considering going with the Phase 2 plan for the rebuild of the high school, or actually entertaining a new high school. And then there was a lot of discussion about a new or replacement high school, and that's a very romantic idea for all of us. I mean, that would be excitement to have that. But when the committee looked at a variety of things, including the cost and including the money it would take to operate a new comprehensive high school, the district is neither at the student enrollment capacity that would support operating costs, and the cost to build a standalone new high school was in about the $138 million range, and that would cause an increase in the tax rate for our community. So among other input that the task force received is that people wanted to keep their taxes at a reasonable rate and not see increases, and the committee, Long Range Task Force, was very respectful of that. And they've proposed a plan that both takes care of returning us to that 2006 plan with refinements to match the current learning needs of students, and at a tax rate that's not anticipated to increase above today's current tax rate, and that would be at the $2.80 per thousand of assessed value.
Okay, so let me just put a underline there, what you just said. Taxes won't go up.
The tax rate is not anticipated to go up.
So you'll keep paying, your tax bill will look very similar to, if your house might go up and down, your tax will go up and down.
Right.
But the rate at which you're being taxed won't change.
We anticipate that will be at the current level. It's estimated to be at the current level, and current level today is $2.80, and that's for the combined tax rate. In other words, for all the bonds that are being paid for on the district. In about 12 years, this rate is expected to drop to approximately $1.50 per thousand, unless the future board, the future school district and citizens say, let's go back and ask the community for another bond. But at this particular point in time, we're estimated to be at a $2.80 for a 12-year length, dropping to $1.50 after the 12th year, unless some new bond proposal gets approved by the community.
I'd like to go back and revisit something that you stated very succinctly, but I'd like to just spend another moment on it, and that is that there's not enough students for 2 high schools. Period.
That's right.
I mean,
if you wanted to have 2 smaller high schools, typically you would look at a 1,500 population in each school. This is a total of 3,000 students. Minimum. And we have about 2,200 students.
So we're 800 students short.
800
we're
students short.
Almost a third too small.
Right.
To
And
do
what
it.
that means
Not close.
we get funded on a per pupil basis for our operating costs from the state. And so what would happen is if we wanted to have a comprehensive offering in both schools, so that students get an equitable education, we would have to staff at a level that would require us to spend more, in order for us to spend more, we would likely have to reduce staff at other levels. So fewer elementary teachers or fewer middle school teachers in order to provide that cost. We'd have to have the cost of 2 administrative teams. And so you really need, for operational purposes, a certain number of students to make it cost efficient, and we're just not there yet. Now, hopefully, when the bypass is built, as more economic investments happen in our community, as the town grows, you may see that assessed value grow within the community because you have more families and more children to serve, and then it would be very prudent time to say, let's look at 2 high schools. We're just not there yet.
And so it's pretty much settled. This bond is about this school for now in the foreseeable future. There's not a phase 4 that has another high school on it. That's for another planning session.
That's correct.
Okay. This, what other input did you get from the community? First of all, there was the 2 high school discussion. Was there an amount willing to pay kind of discussion? Did you find the...
We conducted 2 surveys by an outside firm, and they did a survey last spring, and they did a survey this current fall. And they did a random phone survey of about 400 citizens each time. And they asked them both their opinion on 2 high schools, 1 high school, replacement high school. They asked their opinion on overall total dollar amount people are willing to pay and tax rate people are willing to pay. And a number of other things, such as do you support pathway programs? How do you feel about technology? How do you prioritize safety, energy efficiencies, all of those kinds of things. And we received a lot of support from the community for exactly the proposal that you see here. And I think the Long Range Task Force feels that the proposal they're putting forth to the voters in May does match what we heard from the community. And those are, again, as I said, random calls, and there are people who are registered to vote within our school district attendance area. And so we feel very confident there's support for the program that's being proposed.
Let's hit the big 5, kind of the 5 talking points. And I want to start with the first one that maybe isn't as exciting as career pathways. We've talked about that, but it's energy efficiency. We hear that all the time. Let's translate it into some approximate dollars. If these buildings become more energy efficient with what? Better insulation, better lighting, better heating systems, we're going to save some money.
I think I'm pretty confident in sharing that thousands of dollars in operating costs can be saved through just in energy efficiencies.
Were we willing to say hundreds of thousands?
I would say a lot of money can be saved through energy efficiencies, and that would be more efficient lighting, that's more efficient HVAC systems, that's fewer repairs for those systems that are breaking down. One of my favorite examples is the Patton chiller system, or the system that allows the temperature of the building to cool during those fall and spring months when it's much more warmer for kids to be there. And that's over $300,000 item just to replace that for the building. And it's kind of being held together by paper clips and ingenuity on behalf of our maintenance staff and consultants that we bring in, and we're hoping that it lasts until we're able to receive those replacement dollars through a bond. We have all kinds of issues like that when you have aging buildings that range, as young as 10 years to 100 years. Just like in a person's home, they're going to have certain things that break down that need to be replaced. And in schools that house hundreds of children, those replacement dollar amounts are large. We have an ongoing maintenance budget that we utilize to take care of routine maintenance all the time. We have a large custodial budget. But when big systems break, much more money is needed to fully replace those so that you can cut your year-to-year operational costs in terms of maintaining those items that have become a little bit antiquated. So I think that will provide some efficiencies for our operating budget moving forward if these larger items can be replaced in that system.
So do I have this right in that you have a budget, you have a certain amount of money you can spend for the year, and if something breaks down, then you have to fix it out of that budget. It doesn't come from someplace else. The state doesn't come in, or you don't hold a fundraiser. It'll take away from other budget areas.
Right. We self-support the district in terms of its maintenance budget based on our per pupil allocations that come from the state. And so each year when we receive our state school fund, the budget committee, which consists of 7 board members and 7 citizens, makes a determination about what % of those dollars go towards hiring teachers, hiring custodians, hiring kitchen staff, hiring all the employees necessary to run the building, and what % of those dollars get put into other funds that are in reserve for items that go bad in our system. We self-insure ourselves for $50,000. So let's say there's a water leak, like we've had in the heavy rains. The district will come up with that first $50,000 in repairs before we're able to access insurance, say, to cover that property damage. We do that because it saves money to the community in terms of our insurance monthly installments that we pay. And that system has worked well for us, but we have to be prepared to take care of those large ticket items should they occur, based on something that might have been unanticipated. And then we also set dollars aside where each year we say, we believe these are the necessary repairs or the highest priority repairs that the district needs to take on over the course of the year and proactively go after making those repairs. But as you know, state funds have been tight for a number of years for public school systems, and that comes at a cost. And we prioritize first and foremost having the best quality staff for our students, our great students like Hayley here, who deserve to have these quality teaching experiences. So it is always a challenge to balance those dollars, but that's a long way of saying, no, we don't have extra funds that come from other places. We proactively plan ahead to use those dollars allocated by the state on a routine basis.
So if the utility bill goes down, what you can spend on books and teachers goes up.
Absolutely.
And the same is true of maintenance. If you have a roof that you're replacing, you're going to be doing that out of those funds that could be going to students, but no, you're replacing the roof. Now, if a bond measure comes along and takes care of these maintenance issues like the chiller you talk about and presents energy savings, then going forward, you're going to get the same amount of money to educate
That's
the
right.
kids, but
We
you
won't
won't
have to
be
put
having
it-
to put it into maintenance or wasting
right.
it on inefficient energy.
That's right.
So this will not only improve the quality of the environment, but also improve the budget going forward.
You're absolutely right, and we really care about protecting the community's investments in our buildings. And we've had a number of people visit our schools for a variety of reasons over the years, and they're continually impressed with the quality of care that we provide our buildings. And with that, the funds we have to take care of these large dollar items isn't sufficient. So it is a better investment or an additional investment then to periodically say, what can we do with the help of a bond that then allows the protection of these existing facilities to go on for years beyond. And that's part of this process, a renewal process of our facilities.
Well, I think that when a bond measure goes out to the public, first thing they hear is it's going to cost this much. And then it's up to the people that understand the need to disseminate that information, to say, this is what you're going to get for the money you're going to pay, and why we need it. And I know that you have been doing a full court press on that effort to get that information out to the community. And I hope this is a valuable part of doing that, because people want to know what they're getting for their money and why. And I think we've done a good job today of talking about the quality education that people are getting at McMinnville High School. And with new facilities, they're well prepared to use them and increase the quality of education that's going to go on there. And that special type of education that is getting so much more attention now, the career technical education, the vocational, the career pathways. So to me, this seems like a good time and a good place to invest in our community, because the people that come out of these schools will be able to go to work locally in our businesses, and they will thrive. And guess what? Then those people and those businesses will be paying taxes, and those will fund the schools. So this is an issue that goes to the heart of our community. And I'm really grateful for the three of you today, Hayley, Maryalice, and Robin, for being here today to tell us that story.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
Thank
Ken.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Well, for Local Matters, this is Ken Moore, and I hope you enjoyed this interview. I certainly did.